if you're a young person, like, never shut doors.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The doors that are open, man, keep walking through them. You never know. Like, you never know what it might lead. Like today, to be like, yeah, I almost dropped out of pharmacy school because I was like, I'm gonna make it.
Welcome to Set Life, where we tell stories from our industry. I'm Kelly Leger, and this is Amber Buteau.
Welcome to Set Life. I'm Amber Buteau, and I have a guest host today, Dan Rubottom, the one and only Dan the Man. Thanks for sitting in with us today.
And the marching band.
That's right. That's right. And we have a special guest with us today. Look, we went over this 900 times. Tarun Verma. Oh,
Tarun Verma. You got it.
Yeah.
You're almost there. You're almost there.
That's so
stick
great.
that landing right at the end there.
I know.
Yeah,
I know. He was like, and it's like maroon, and we were saying it all the different ways.
Right.
But yeah, thanks for coming and hanging out with us.
Absolutely.
Can't wait to dive into your story.
Glad to do it.
Yeah. So on the show, we talk about kind of, did you always know you were going to be in the industry? A little bit of your story of how you got here. And then we land at what you're doing now, because you have a super cool project that I can't wait for us to talk about.
Yeah.
That just released. But yeah, take us back to, when did you know you were going to do this?
Man, it was freshman year of college. So, I'm Indian. We, like any other Indian kid growing up in the 90s, early 2000s, you didn't think you could do this kind of stuff, right? So I was pre-med. I was at University of Texas in Austin. So Austin at that time, back in 2004, was like the mecca of independent film, right? Robert Rodriguez was shooting stuff left and right. Grindhouse was shot while I was there. And so I was miserable. I hated pre-med. I didn't like it. And my best friend, she goes, well, what do you want to do? I was like, I don't know. She goes, all right, let's take a step back. It's always women, right? Women are the enlighteners, right? So my best friend, she was like, let's go backwards. What do you love? And I was like, I don't know. I don't know what I like. I do know that I love watching movies. I always have. I come from the world where I watched everything Hollywood, and I also grew up in the world of Bollywood. So I watched everything Bollywood too. And my best memories with my mom are watching Bollywood movies, right? And I mean, I have a very sort of like spiritual relationship with James Bond movies and stuff like that. That helped me bond with my father, right? He's from the old country. And so I was like, movies. I was like, but people like me don't make movies. I don't have connections. We don't do this. Get out of here. She goes, what's the worst that could happen? So Christmas break, freshman year, I go to Barnes & Nobles, if they're still around. I went to one of those. I picked up a screenwriting book because she was like, just figure it out. See if it's something you'd even like. Picked up a screenwriting book, got through about halfway, and I was like, okay, I understand the formatting of it. And within, I think, 2 months, I wrote a feature. I had a story in mind. It was very Bollywood-y, mind you, at that time. I wrote it, and I was like, I don't know if this is any good. Gave it to my best friend. She goes, it makes sense. So that's a success. She goes, your story start to finish makes sense. Your characters make sense. She goes, go make this. I was like, God, get out of here. I don't know. How am I going to make a movie? Well, you had funds at UT. UT is a really creative place. So I started submitting to little creative funds, and they were like, here's $5,000. Go make your movie. You can't make a movie on $5,000, right? But I was like, okay. And I was like, hey, so the thing you told me to do, I now got some money. She goes, all right, progress, keep going. So I started casting the movie. I found some people that wanted to shoot it, all in $5,000, right? Yeah. But most of it was university kids, left and right. All the actors were going to be university kids, right? So everyone's just donating their time and energy. Instead of going out to frat parties getting smashed, let's go make a movie instead. Let's be a little productive. Mm-hmm. I was going from like Indian student organizations and Pakistani student association meetings to being like, hey, we're casting, we need brown faces. These two guys in the back were like grown up, like adults that were like sponsors of the organizations, right? And so they were like, hey, kiddo, we saw you up there asking for actors. Well, back in the day, I used to make movies in Pakistan and in India and stuff. They're like, what do you got going on? I was like, I got $5,000, bro. I'm so awesome. I got $5,000. I'm going to make this movie. And they're like, give the $5,000 back to the university because you're not going to be able to make money on it. We'll give you 10. Let's go make money on this thing. And I was like, I don't really care about making money, but you just doubled my budget like that. So I was like, let's go, man. So that whole experience was awesome. Like I ran production. I pretty much got a film school education in 10K without having to go to film school. Because again, I was pre-med at the time. Yep. And so I wrote it, directed it. I starred in it. Terrible idea. And but I also ran producer on it. So we ran production. On the weekends, we would shoot. During the week, we would rehearse and set up for the week. And that was it. That was like my life for a good chunk of time. And it was such a great experience. And that's what got me into film. Because I did it. I did it. We went all the way through. We finished it. We had a final product and everything. And it was like, this is now, you tested that theory of like, could I do this to the business to like, hey, here's proof of concept.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you can, man. There's nothing stopping you from doing this. Just get some more money next time. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that kind of just started the seeds of it all, man. And like anything in this business, I don't think there's an easy ascension to the top, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of derailing moments along the way. I ended up going to pharmacy school, so I compromised with my parents. I thought I was going to make it Oprah Rich big after that feature. It didn't. And I was like, but I'm not going to med school. I don't have it in me to go through the rigorous training of medical school. But I'll go to pharmacy school for you, Dad. How's that? I come out with a 6-figure salary. You get to say your son's still a doctor because it was a doctor to pharmacy. And he goes, you got yourself a deal. I can't curse on this thing, right? Okay. I can?
It's your terms, not mine.
All right. Well, you goddamn right. That's the deal. And I was like, all right. So I ended up going to pharmacy school. Doing that, the dream got derailed. I didn't do anything for a while. It's really intense. I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I had to really hunker down and really focus. Then when I got out of pharmacy school, the one thing I had learned from that first feature was money. Control the money. These guys controlled the money, and the outcome of that first feature wasn't the best. And so I was like, in this second iteration of trying this again, control the money and understand the money. I just had heard these magical words called, what's the thing where the director gets final say? Final cut, right? Final cut. Yeah. I was like, because we had a contract and everything. I was 20 years old. Right. I was like, I don't give a damn. All I need is final cut. It didn't matter, man. It didn't matter at the end of the day.
It sounds good, though.
It sounds great. I was like, I did it. I negotiated a contract. Got final cut. It didn't matter when they were like, we hold the production stuff.
Right.
We hold the last say on distribution. So if you're not going to do what we say, because we did spat during the end half of that thing, then we're not going to release it. And I was like, okay, learning lessons. So when it came out of pharmacy school, you have a decent amount of income. I was like, good, I'm going to pour in all my extra income into kind of starting up again. And slowly but surely, I'd make a little feature, a little short here, a little short there, build up your confidence. I had stepped away for like 7-8 years. I didn't, I shot my first, you got some whites and grays. You may know this. Remember DV tapes?
Oh, yeah.
That's what my first feature was shot on, man. It was DV tapes. Those don't exist anymore.
That was a revolution.
Right? I came out of pharmacy school, technology completely changed. Wow. I was like, yeah, cool. I remember sitting down with a DP, it was in Dallas at the time. I was living in Dallas. I was like, cool, yeah, so we're going to be shooting this on DV tapes. He looked at me like I was crazy. He's like, what? Yeah. No, it's because, he was a young kid. It was kind of
looked down on by some people, but it was a huge boon for younger filmmakers to be able to afford shooting on stuff.
It was. And but everything went completely digital. So now it's all hard drives at that time. So when I came out, it was like, dude, you need to go relearn everything that you had learned because as technology changed, everything changed. Yeah. And so little by little, every year that whatever, student loans didn't take and everything, it was like I poured it into films. And you got your proficiency up. And I remember I had a friend who became like the number 2 at a film festival. And I was like, hey, once upon a time I used to make movies. And she goes, we're starting up this one film festival. We need content. If you make something, we'll put it in. I was like, just like that? She goes, yeah, do it. And so I made something that today is the equivalent of a YouTube little skit, short, or whatever, right? Went to the film festival. And this thing was like maybe 7 minutes long, right? Something kind of campy, something goofy, going back to the comedy roots. And there was a guy there in the audience who was a director who'd won an Academy Award back in 1985 or 1986 or something. He goes up to me, and he didn't need to. Like, he was just nice for doing this, right? He went up to me, and he was like, that was hysterical. That was funny. He's like, turn this into a series. When you're a young person, you don't listen very well. I wasn't into the series thing at the time. I was like, I don't want to do a series. I like a commitment to a film, and then you move on. You get completely head into it. You do it for 2 years, and then you move on. You find another story to get passionate about. A series, who knows how long you're living with it. So I was like, I don't want to do a series, but it was just such great confidence boosting to go to these like smaller film festivals where you get that like great feedback. I think a lot of filmmakers now are just they're swinging for the fences. It's like, if I don't get into Sundance, it's that Sundance or bust. And it's like, no, man, go to the smaller film festivals. Like, you get to meet random filmmakers. Like, his movie was the like opening night film or whatever. But he was such a cool filmmaker, an older dude, that he just stuck around and he watched all the shorts and the blocks during the day. And it was mine that he just happened to really love. And he was like, that's funny, man. Turn it into a season. It's hilarious. And it just is that confidence. that's what these great film festivals are for. You go to Sundance, you're there for a certain reason. You're there for just level up to that next level.
Yeah.
But the smaller film festivals are just about you getting your confidence in.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was great.
Audience reaction.
Yeah, especially with the comedy.
Yeah.
That's the awesome thing. It's a comedy. And so it's like you're sitting there with the audience and it's fun. Like Conception, which we're going to talk about a little bit later, that's a drama. That's not fun to watch with an audience. That's a very internal thing, right? You watch that, you're better off watching that at home. If I watch it with you, like, what am I going to watch you until you cry? Like, yes, you cried. I got it. We got it. That's what we were trying to succeed. It worked, right? It's not.
Yeah.
It's a very internal thing when you go watch a drama like that. Comedies are amazing. Like
fun with an audience.
It's so much fun. And then there'll be things, right, where it's like, my wife, she'll be like, no one's going to laugh at that joke. And I was like, you're wrong. They're going to laugh. They're going to laugh so much. And then you go to and it's what's awesome is like, especially when you travel with the film, the East Coast, West Coast, the humors are all different.
Totally
all different.
Yeah.
The one joke
I
that she
agree.
said wouldn't play doesn't play on the West Coast.
Wow.
But that same joke kills on the East Coast.
That's
I
funny.
remember looking at her. There was a film festival we were at, and she was like, "Oh, that stupid joke's about to come on. That stupid joke's about to come on." Comes on, laughter everywhere. I look at her. I was like, "What now? I told you it was gonna kill." But then we went to the East Coast, and then she's like, "No, crickets." And I was like, "Yeah, these people suck. I don't know about this." But then they'll laugh at the other jokes that they're like, "Yeah, that didn't get a good reception on the East Coast." So it's just kind of cool to do that. But dramas are very different. That's like one of those like, watch it and then let's talk about it after type of thing. Like, and then, so it's been a really, really cool bit. So then you do another short after that, pour a little bit more money in, start to really put your feet in the water before you're kind of tiptoeing a little bit. Now it's like, hey man, put more feet in the water, get your groove on, Stella. All right, get comfortable.
Yeah.
And it's like my confidence started to grow by going to these film festivals. And then it was like, all right, it's time to swing bigger. And that's where Conception comes in. Ooh, see the lead in? Ooh, I lead it in myself.
So what a way to get into the industry. That is a really fascinating way, your journey of doing it, because it's very unique, I think, compared to a lot of people. Everyone's has a unique journey to get into it. That's what's so cool about this industry is there's not really any one way to do it.
There's no recipe.
But I love how you it seems like almost like a 180 career-wise from, pre-med to pharmacy.
Yeah.
Is there anything looking back, like, are you still working as a pharmacist?
Yeah, that's the day job, man.
So does any of that translate into helping you do films in any kind of cerebral way, or any kind of, or there
from a creative standpoint, not necessarily, but from a management perspective, because I'm sort of at the higher levels of the pharmaceutical world. Like I'm in director position, so you learn how to execute teams, which is literally what you need in film. You need to be able to build a team and execute a team. And so those things kind of overlap. Now, in terms of the creativity, not necessarily, but for Conception, it did actually came straight out of the page of it. I was a fertility pharmacist for many years, helping couples get pregnant. And so that's where that story came from.
I was going to say, where did the whole concept come from
Yeah.
that spurred that idea?
You would have never seen that coming necessarily. Like, well, I'm going to go to pharmacy school, and then I'm going to get an idea to do a feature.
You never know. Like, if you're a young person, like, never shut doors.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The doors that are open, man, keep walking through them. You never know. Like, you never know what it might lead. Like, today to be like, I almost dropped out of pharmacy school because I was like, I'm going to make it. I'm going to be the next Spielberg. I don't need to do this.
Right.
It's like, no, it didn't.
Yeah.
The derailing happens, rocks tumbling, all that happens. And then you never know what comes of it, right? It's like, that was really cool.
That's really cool.
So let's talk about this idea. Let's talk about the film that you just released. So the idea came from your experience as a pharmacist and all of that. Would you say, is that fair to say, or did it spur from something else?
No, that's it. I was working with a lot of women getting pregnant. It's a woman's journey to go through IVF, in vitro fertilization, for those that don't know.
Thank you.
Right? It's when you can't have a child naturally. You need medicine to kind of help you to get there. And so I was talking to these women, helping them get pregnant, going through the medication regimens. And in the back of my mind, I always knew the story. I had a story there where I was like, man, this is a really good, captivating story. But I never touched it because I thought I'm a man. This is a woman's story. It should be a female filmmaker out there that should make this thing, not me. And I remember telling my wife this a couple times. She goes, not necessarily. You could do it. But I held off on it. I was like, nah, it's fine. I'm a comedy guy. I do comedy. That's what I like doing. But then COVID happened. And we were all forced to work on hobbies. The whole world shut down. I had to figure something out. So in that time, I was like, let me write it. I don't know what'll come of it. Let me just write it. I wrote the short of it, showed it to my wife, showed it to my best friend. So my inner circle is 2 women. They read it. They read everything I write. And so if they tell me it's garbage, I go back to the starting point, right? They both read it and they go, oh, you've never done a drama. This is actually pretty good.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I was like, so what next?
Yeah.
Go make it. I was like, I don't know. And they're like, it's COVID. What do you have better to do? I was like, okay. I'd worked with this actor named Kareem here locally on a comedy before. I was like, I think he could do this. I think he'd be really good at it. I love to push people. It's not just in film, but in everywhere. I just like to push people. And he's been a comedy guy only. I was like, I think you could do drama, man. So I showed him the script and he goes, are you sure? This isn't really my jam. And I was like, no, brother. I think you can do this. And then we eventually found our way into an actress, Simran. And the only advice I'd kind of give to new filmmakers is if you go into new genres, man, go nice and slow. Mm-hmm. I didn't know what I was going to get with a drama, right? So I was like, let's go step by step. And every weekend they'd come over. We'd sit in my kitchen, we'd run lines. Because I wanted to see it. I was like, what am I making here? Is it good? Like, is it going to sound good? Is it going to look good? They were running lines. It started to get real good. I was like, okay, cool. I'm not at the level where I want to greenlight this because I'd have to fund this myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So even my wife was like, no. We need more of a proof of concept here. We started blocking it. In my house, we just block in different rooms. Okay, it's like this one's a bedroom scene. Okay, let's go into the bedroom. This one's a kitchen. This one's a living room, whatever outside. We started blocking it. The movie just kind of came to life during rehearsals because I over-rehearsed the crap out of it. Because that's the only way to make sure you're going to get a good product. Because these were also 2 actors that had never done anything at this level either. And I was a writer and director who had never done anything at this level. So it's like, no, let's baby step into this. So theme in my life, baby steps.
Yeah.
Baby step into things, right? So, and they started killing it. It was really good. And then I looked at my wife. I was like, all right, you're the studio. Are we greenlighting this thing or what are we doing here? And she goes, yeah, spend some money. Do this thing. This is, and she even called it before. She goes, this is by far going to be the best thing you've done. I was like, stop, come on. I've done good with other stuff. She goes, no. Mark my words. If you do this right, this is probably going to be one of the better things you ever do. I was like, all right. We shot 3 days during COVID, and it yielded 45 minutes of footage. Like the finished product was 45 minutes. And I was like, hey, man, this is actually really good. Makes sense. It's good. The actors saw it. They were like, whoa, it exceeded everyone's expectation. The actors, myself, everyone. And immediately we started throwing it to film festivals. Like, all right, let's go. It's a serious topic. This is exactly what film festivals do. They don't particularly love slapstick humor, so that's kind of where I never saw huge success in the bigger film festivals. You got to do that darker, quieter type humor for that to go far, right? So this is also where you learn the politics of film festivals, right?
For sure.
This one checked all the boxes. All right, let's go. One film festival director was nice enough to hit me back because you also have to champion your films. So the minute I sent 100%. It in, I'm sitting there every couple of weeks emailing them, calling the offices if they have an office number. Hey, I'm so-and-so filmmaker. Let me talk to you about my movie. Have you heard about my movie? You know, you got to champion your own films, right? Especially if they're short. You're not going to hire publicists unless it's a big...
And even then...
Right. It's like if you're Wes Anderson...
I don't know how much they work for you then even.
Right. So it's like you got to go champion it yourself. Yeah. One festival director was nice enough to hit me back and he went, I can't put the film in the film festival, but he's like, I got some words for you. He's like, I got some words of advice. He goes, your short is 45 minutes. That's not a short.
Yep.
Right.
He goes, do you know how many filmmakers' films I'd have to bump just to show yours? He's like, that goes against what film festivals are supposed to be for. They're supposed to highlight and showcase filmmakers. So it's like people who have 5-minute shorts. You know how many of those you can throw into that time that mine was?
Yeah.
So he's like, you can't. But he goes, let me give you some words of advice. He goes, you don't have a short. You have half a feature done. Oh my God. The light bulb in my head went off, man. I was like, holy shit, I didn't think about that. He goes, you don't need a pitch deck. You don't need any of the things that most guys at your level are struggling with right now. You know, they're going around town with their pitch decks and I made a trailer and it's like, you don't have that. Dude, you made a kick-ass movie poster, which if you could throw it up right now, that'd be awesome. The movie poster was awesome. It's just eye-popping and everything. And then they're like, you have half a movie. You literally take those two things to investors. You're going to get an answer. And I was like, really? I was like, yeah. It's like, okay. So I finished the feature length script. I was already kind of working on that while I was in post. And then the movie poster is done. And I was like, I know enough marketing and all that where I was like, I gotta have a kick-ass movie poster. You can't just make one of these digitally, whatever. We did a whole photo shoot for it. It was eye-popping. It was cool. And then the first week I went out to investors and I hit up my entire network. I was like, who wants to invest? Who's got some extra money? You know, this was also like a little bit into to COVID. The PPP money was running really rampant. Not saying that my movie is funded by that, but point is people had money during COVID.
Yeah.
So I was like, who wants to get into the business? Who's got some extra money? I got a short list of investors, got in front of every single one of them. And they were absolutely right, man. I didn't need a pitch deck. I didn't need nothing. I was like, watch this thing. Here's a movie poster. If you like what you see, I'm just going to make another 45, 50 minutes of that and round this out to a finished product.
Yeah.
First week, I got the budget.
Wow.
Which also goes to tell you, I probably should have asked for more money. I probably asked for less money than I did because I got it right away. But first week, I was out there pitching the movie. I got the money and I was like, holy crap, man. Boom. 2-3 months later, we're in pre-production. We're shooting a couple months later. So almost a year to date from shooting the short, we were on set shooting the feature. Boom. Did 7 days of that. Everyone is excited to come back, you know, that did it. The main couple were excited too. So it was like, all right, that's it. And we're going to do the same thing, man. Over rehearse this thing. Let's go. Like really knock this in, make sure. Cause again, now you're getting them nervous too. Cause it's like, hey, this is a feature now. It's no longer short. And now you can't keep it at the same tone that it was at. Cause it was a very serious tone. It was like, we got to lighten it up too now. Now I'm asking you to do some comedy. So if you hadn't done comedy, which Kareem was, he was like, Kareem, I got comedy. Yeah. The girl had never done comedy, Simran. So I was like, all right, we're going to do some comedy. But guess what? We're going to prep this just like we prepped the short. So you guys know exactly what you're going to get out of this. And we did that, went into production, shot this thing. And boom, we got a feature in the can. So I think the first film festival, because the film festivals take a while for you to get the submissions in. The first film festival, I even went for the short. I remember sitting at the Q&A and they're like, so what's next? You said you were going to turn this. I was like, actually, last weekend we wrapped on the feature. So when I was at the film festival for the short, I was able to say, well, we already have the feature in the can. Yeah. And so that kind of like momentum really gives you, again, if you've been in the business for long enough, you kind of, the business and the film world start to mesh a little bit. Yeah. And when that started happening to me, I felt like that's when I really got momentum. When I was just this writer director out here pitching projects, it just didn't work. But when that business knowledge really started to intersect, man, things started working. And then I go to film festivals, I connect, and people would go, all right, you're a guy that kind of gets it. Like, cool, here's my number, here's this. Like the networking went even farther. Yeah. Which was cool, man. It was just really cool.
Yeah, I love that. The momentum, that's really interesting. And how your crew was actually probably pretty small, I assume, because it's a small budget.
Very small. But during COVID, a lot of people wanted to help out.
Oh, yeah.
People had stuff to do. I was able to get some discount rates. Sure enough, when we did a year later, that cost me a lot more money, right?
Right.
But it was fine because we had the budget for it. But during COVID, everyone gave me discounts because everyone was like, we just want to work. You know, we just want to work. We want to get out. We're all stuck in the house. Nobody's shooting anything.
Right.
I was one of the only ones that happened to be shooting at the time. And even then I was like, keep it quiet. Because we didn't have COVID protocols or nothing at the time, right? Yeah. We're too small for that.
Yeah. So once you canned it, you put it into some festivals, and then you've distributed it. When did it drop? When did you release it?
Did end of 2022 is when it went live. So that's when Prime Video had the big release on it. And so I was like, okay, great. The distributors had everything in order. So again, people don't realize if you haven't gone through it, everything takes so much time.
Yes, it does.
You know what I mean? Yes, you're in post and then you got colors. We sent it out. We had I tried not to use anyone outside of Houston, but in some instances we just did. So we did the coloring out in LA and things like that. Took them a little bit of time to turn it around to us. We're not the Brad Pitt feature, right? So things like that happen. And then also when the distributor picks it up, they got a whole slate of movies they got to release. So yours sits in the queue, right? So I was like, okay, we know we're going to get a release date almost 6-7 months later. So until then it was kind of like, all right, well, let's do the other things you need to do. Brought on a publicist on board, did all that stuff, started a press run that was going to coincide with the release. And so you work on that stuff.
Yeah. So, that's the whole.
We watched the trailer right before.
Thank you.
And really good. I was just really impressed with just the performances was the first thing I noticed.
Thank you.
It just felt like a real drama, you know.
Thank you.
A good festival quality feature,
right,
where you've got great performances and there's no, and you the little bit of comedy in there, you know, a couple laugh moments there.
You you revert to your older ways. It's like comedy, and I'm always looking for jokes, and in the drama, it's like cut it out.
But it's so good though, because it's kind of point and counterpoint. You know, like it's a good way to. Okay, let us take a breath for a second, and then we get back into the, as an audience member. You know?
Sure.
So that's really good. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that balance of that. I think that's the most enjoyable. I mean, if you sit for something heavy, and okay, let's just look at life in itself. When do you sit for 2 hours? Heavy,
right,
and want to go back, or like it, or don't want to get out of it. You just don't.
Go for a walk, or I'm gonna whatever.
You're like, oh, I gotta get out of this.
You need the investment, right?
So
if you're gonna sit through the drama, you need the investment. So first half of the movie, it's placed more like a rom-com, right? It's lighter, it's funnier, it's sexy. There's some sex and stuff in there. And then by the time I got you, you're not leaving the theater 45 minutes before the movie ends, right? That's where the heavy stuff really starts, and you're like, oh man, okay. But then by then you're invested. That's the whole point. It's like now you don't want to leave because you're like, I love them. I want to see this work.
Right.
Even after we watched the trailer, because it's again about a young married couple that's trying to get pregnant. They can't get pregnant, and the trailer's over, and I go, Dan, does she get pregnant?
Does she
have a baby?
I'm like, well, some trailers give it all away.
Give it all away, yeah.
And with this, I think, you want to
go watch it to see if she does she get pregnant? Does they have a baby? Do they not? Do they like it? Do they not like it? What happens?
Study trailers. That's what we had to do too. It was like, because again, we knew that like, hey, at the end of the day, we want an acquisition. We want this to go far. So you started going, okay, well, what's the art? Because there's actually a science and an art behind trailers. I didn't realize it. Yeah. Right? There are literally trailer houses that just do trailers. Like literally, Marvel will shoot a film and they don't even cut that in house. No. It goes to a trailer house where specifically their job is to cut the trailer and make it as enticing as possible. And so my editor and I, we'd sit there and we'd watch some of these really great trailers, and we're like, okay, well, just like any story, there's a beginning, middle, and an end. Right. It's a 3 acts to even the trailer. I was like, all right, what do we want? You open up the trailer, introduce. Second, draw. And then third, leave it off as a cliffhanger, right? That's kind of the science to a trailer. And I know when we talk creatives and we talk from a creativity standpoint, you don't want to mention this stuff, but there is a science to it, man.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
You
just want to channel the creativity in that science.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Those are the people that are most successful. I look at Soderbergh as one of the more successful filmmakers out there, and he treats this thing like a science.
Yeah.
He's a nerd, man. He's a nerd, but it's so good because it's like, he's so creative with it. How does he do it? And so we studied a lot of that stuff, and we're like, okay, we're going up against features that are multi-million dollars, and those are called indies, right? So it's like, we got to stand out somehow. So it's like, all right, how do we make an eye-catching movie poster? How do we do a great trailer? But man, it was all, you study it. You study it, and then it was like, all right, let's adapt it to what we're doing.
And then you edited it too, you said.
The first draft. So the short, I did it myself to save money. And then I did do the first rough cut of the feature. And then I do not have the prowess to do a final product. And that's where the editor came in, Johnny De Jesus. He came in and just polished the crap out of it. And it looks amazing now. And he taught me a bunch through the process too. He's like, hey, listen, this is how I can tell you're an amateur editor. You did this. You missed J cuts here and this.
Right.
And I was like, what's a J cut? Right. And you learn all these things, right? And it was like, oh, that's great. And so I always knew from a money perspective, I was going to do that. I was like, I'm going to do, because when I went to Johnny, I was like, I'm not asking you to cut this thing all the way from scratch. I got it done. And when he looked at it, he goes, damn, this is pretty good. It's like 80% of the way there. He's like, let me get it, and then let me polish it up after that, and then let's stylize this thing a bit. And that's what he came on for. And then, he took the film from here to here. Yeah. And it was like, I knew I only was going to have the budget for that.
That's like, a good way to work, though.
Yeah.
You know?
So,
because you're not going to necessarily want to spend years getting to that level that he can bring his skill set.
Spend money where you need to, and other places save money. That's where like the pharmaceutical world, the business world has been really helpful, is to teach you to play money ball in this business. We will never ever have enough money. I see people in the business bitching about how they had 75 million, and I was like, you had 75 million, you're complaining about that?
Yeah.
And it's like, you're never gonna have enough money. That's what I took from it. So it's like, always be resourceful. I saw Soderbergh, like, if you can shoot. And look at Robert Rodriguez. He shoot, cuts, everything.
They shoot and direct the whole.
And you save so much money doing it. You know, Tyler Perry's the same way. He always writes whatever, produces it, and it's like, if the more of these roles you can take on that you enjoy and you're proficient in, do that.
Yeah.
And then the other stuff, pay for that. Pay for the professionals that come in and do that stuff, man.
Yeah. So. Well, we will drop the trailer after this, so we'll put a link. We'll also overlay some of the footage if you'll send that to us, so
For sure.
the audience can see some of that and watch it in the poster and
Yeah.
all that good jazz and stuff like that. So stay tuned to watch that. But how can people reach out to you, look up the movie? Does it have websites, Instagram, socials, your Instas, socials, whatever that is?
Go to IMDb.
Okay.
Like literally every platform it's on, IMDb tells you. Go into my thing. I can be found. I'm not a hard guy to find. What's my @ right now? It's at Mr. T Verma, right, on socials. Hit me up there. And again, the greatest thing that I've kind of had going for me is like people have always been very friendly to help me, like industry professionals. I remember I met Gary Marshall at a party, and like they impart you little nuggets and wisdoms, and it's like pass that on. Like don't impede somebody else's progress. Help them as much as you can. People have reached out since the movie's released to be like, listen, I don't understand distribution. Can you help me with distribution? It's like, yeah, absolutely. Here's how it works. Here's what you should be looking at. And some people were like, oh, I just wanted to do a big theatrical release. It's like, no, don't do a theatrical release as an independent film. Take that money. I'll tell you exactly what to do. Tell you exactly what to do. Go get a publicist. And I'll give you 5 publicists. Go pick which one that you vibe with. I just knew I always wanted my publicist to be a woman. It was a woman's film. It's like, I want a woman. I didn't want a guy because I was like, I know they're not going to understand the film as well. Therefore, they're not going to champion the film as well.
Yeah.
I needed a woman. And so I went out and got a great one. And what she did was invaluable for the money. Yeah. And yet every single filmmaker I know that did a limited theatrical release regretted it. And they lost a ton of money. And then they would turn around and go, man, you had such a great press run. How'd you do it? And it was like, publicist, man. Like, I take no credit for it. Put that money there. Be smart with your money.
Yeah.
So
it's good.
So good. Well, thanks for coming and hanging out with us and sharing your story. And everybody go check out his film. Again, we'll have all the information in the bio and popped up in the episode and all of that.
Yeah.
And so, Dan, thanks.
Very nice to meet you.
Absolutely.
And great to hear your story. And so go
thanks
be
for having
inspired,
me out.
people.
And thanks for what you're doing in Houston, by the way. This is awesome to have this entire setup, what you're doing, the kind of unification. I feel like this has been a long time coming. It's needed. And I'm here for it, man. I'm here for it. I'm here for the unity. I'm here for the support. This is awesome. I want to see this flourish 5 years from now and be something massive.
Absolutely.
Thank you. We appreciate that. So until then, we'll see you on Set Life.